Once upon a time, in a cozy little house in the heart of America, lived a boy named John and his best friend, a lively little dog named Max. John loved adventures, and Max was always eager to join. One sunny afternoon, John found a colorful brochure about Switzerland in his mailbox. The pictures of snow-capped mountains, charming villages, and crystal-clear lakes filled John with excitement. "Max, look at this! Switzerland looks amazing! Let's go on an adventure!" John exclaimed, waving the brochure. Max wagged his tail vigorously, agreeing with his best friend. With the help of John's parents, they booked their tickets and packed their bags. Little did they know that this trip would be full of surprises and unforgettable experiences. Chapter 1. The adventure begins. "I can't believe we're actually going to Switzerland, Max," John said excitedly as they prepared for their trip. Max wagged his tail, equally thrilled about the adventure that awaited them. John carefully packed his suitcase with comfortable clothes, sturdy shoes, and a camera to capture all their amazing memories. He also packed some treats for Max and a leash to keep his furry friends safe during their travels. As they drove to the airport, John couldn't stop talking about everything he wanted to see in Switzerland. He had read about the majestic Matterhorn, the picturesque Lake Geneva, and the enchanting Swiss forests. Max listened attentively, his ears perked up with curiosity. At the airport, John and Max went through the security check and then made their way to their gate. They waited patiently for the announcement that their flight to Switzerland was ready for boarding. "Max, remember to stay close to me and listen to the instructions from the flight attendants," John whispered to his dog. Max licked John's hand, assuring him that he would be a good boy throughout the flight. When it was time to board, John put Max's leash and harness on, and they joined the other passengers entering the airplane. Chapter 2. Arrival in Switzerland. The long flight finally came to an end as the plane touched down in Switzerland. As they stepped out of the airport, the fresh mountain air filled their lungs. The sky was a brilliant blue, and the majestic Swiss Alps stood tall in the distance. "Wow, Max! This is even better than I imagined," John said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. They boarded a train that would take them to their first destination, a quaint village called Zermatt. As the train chugged along, John and Max marveled at the stunning landscapes outside the window. They saw green meadows dotted with wildflowers, picturesque sleighs, and grazing cows with tinkling bells around their necks. "It feels like we're in a real-life picture postcard," John said, his voice filled with awe. Max barked in agreement, his tail wagging happily. Chapter 3. Exploring Zermatt. In Zermatt, John and Max were welcomed by friendly locals. The village was charming, with narrow cobblestone streets and wooden houses adorned with colorful flowers. John was eager to explore, and Max was just as curious. They decided to take a cable car up to the Gornergrat, a famous mountain ridge offering panoramic views of the Matterhorn, one of Switzerland's most iconic peaks. As they ascended, the view became more breathtaking with every passing moment. Snowy peaks stretched as far as the eye could see, and John felt like they were on top of the world. "Max, look at the Matterhorn! It's incredible," John exclaimed, pointing to the pyramid-shaped mountain. Max barked in agreement, his eyes wide with wonder. Chapter 4. A day by the lake. After their mountain adventure, John and Max headed to Lake Geneva, one of Europe's largest lakes. The shimmering blue waters and the gentle breeze made it a perfect spot for a relaxing day. They rented a small boat and paddled around the lake, enjoying the peaceful surroundings. "Isn't this beautiful, Max?" John said, dipping his hand into the cool water. Max wagged his tail, his ears flapping in the wind. They spent the afternoon exploring the lakeside towns, trying delicious Swiss chocolates, and even taking a dip in the lake. "We should come back to the lake tomorrow," John suggested to Max, who barked happily in response. Chapter 5. The enchanting Swiss forest. One morning, John and Max decided to explore a nearby forest. The Swiss forests are known for their lush greenery and enchanting atmosphere. As they wandered through the tall trees, they heard the cheerful chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves underfoot. "Let's see if we can find any hidden treasures," John suggested, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Max sniffed the ground, his nose twitching as he followed an interesting scent. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a small clearing with a crystal-clear stream running through it. John knelt down to take a sip of the cool, refreshing water, and Max eagerly lapped it up as well. As they continued their exploration, they came across a family of deer grazing peacefully. John and Max watched quietly, not wanting to disturb the serene scene. Chapter 6. A visit to a Swiss farm. Their adventure continued with a visit to a traditional Swiss farm. The farm was bustling with activity, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of hay and the sounds of clucking chickens and mooing cows. The farmer, a kind old man named Hans, welcomed them with a warm smile. "Would you like to see how we make Swiss cheese?" Hans asked. John's eyes lit up with excitement. "Yes, please." Hans led them to the barn, where they watched the cheese-making process. John was fascinated by how the milk was transformed into delicious cheese wheels. Max, on the other hand, was more interested in making friends with the farm animals. "Here, try some fresh cheese," Hans offered, handing a piece to John. John took a bite and savored the rich, creamy flavor. "This is amazing!" "Thank you, Hans," Max barked happily, hoping for a taste. Hans chuckled and gave Max a small piece of cheese, which he devoured in an instant. Chapter 7. Discovering Swiss culture. John and Max wanted to learn more about Swiss culture, so they visited a local museum. The museum showcased the history and traditions of Switzerland, from ancient artifacts to traditional clothing and crafts. John was particularly intrigued by the stories of Swiss legends and folklore. "Look, Max! This exhibit is about William Tell, a famous Swiss hero," John said, pointing to a display. Max tilted his head, listening intently as John read the story of the legendary marksman who shot an apple off his son's head to win their freedom. They also attended a Swiss folk music performance, where they enjoyed the lively tunes of horns and yodeling. John couldn't help but tap his feet to the rhythm, and Max wagged his tail in time with the music. Chapter 8. The thrilling toboggan ride. The next day, John and Max went on a thrilling toboggan ride down Mount Pilatus. They climbed into the toboggan, with John holding on tight and Max sitting securely in front. As they sped down the winding track, the wind rushed past them, and they both let out whoops of joy. "This is awesome, Max!" John shouted, laughing as they zoomed down the mountain. Max barked in agreement, his ears flapping in the breeze. Chapter 9. The magical Swiss glacier. Their next adventure took them to a magical place called the Glacier, the largest glacier in the Alps. John and Max joined a guided tour, learning about the glacier's history and the importance of preserving such natural wonders. As they walked along the glacier, John marveled at the sparkling ice and the deep crevices. It felt like they were walking on a frozen river of time. Max was equally fascinated, sniffing the icy ground and leaving paw prints in the snow. "This is incredible, Max! It's like we're in another world," John said, taking in the breathtaking scenery. Max wagged his tail, clearly enjoying the experience. Chapter 10. Farewell to Switzerland. As their adventure in Switzerland came to an end, John and Max felt a mix of happiness and sadness. They had experienced so many wonderful things, but it was time to head back home. On their last day, they took a leisurely stroll through a beautiful Swiss garden, enjoying the vibrant flowers and the sweet scent of blooming roses. "Max, this has been the best adventure ever," John said, kneeling down to give his furry friend a hug. Max licked John's face, his tail wagging furiously. They sat together on a bench, watching the sunset over the mountains, casting a golden glow over the landscape. Switzerland will always hold a special place in our hearts, John said softly. Max barked in agreement, as if to say, yes, it will. Epilogue. Home again. When John and Max returned home, they couldn't wait to share their adventures with their family and friends. John created a scrapbook filled with photos and souvenirs from their trip, and he loved telling everyone about the amazing places they had visited. Max, on the other hand, was content to curl up by the fireplace, dreaming of the Swiss mountains and the thrilling toboggan ride. They knew that their adventure in Switzerland was just the beginning of many more exciting travels to come. And so, John and Little Dog continued to dream, explore, and embark on new adventures, knowing that the world was full of wonders waiting to be discovered. The end.